Hi folks, so today is the 12th of April and the following is a recording that I did on the 11th of April in the late evening, and I was re-listening to it and just doing some editing, and I've been a bit hesitant of uploading it because just of the space and energy of where I was coming from was very intense, it's a hard place for me. Yesterday was the hardest day that I've experienced since this lockdown, and then also having the reality set in that it's been extended. So I'm feeling like it's not the most upbeat and positive video of mine, and I feel maybe it's not appropriate. So that's what I was thinking, but then I thought, no, let me just do it. Let me just upload it as it is, as raw as it is, and because it's true. It's just how I'm feeling. It's just what I was going through at the time, and these moments are true and are real. These moments where we just feel very despaired, okay, and very frustrated and very much in grief and etc., and just overwhelmed and uncertain and etc. And so again, I mean, it's not a pity party here at all that I'm looking to have. It's just some moods that I find myself in at times, and I need to honor and respect myself for these moods that I go through, these experiences, these emotions that I feel. And so with that in mind, there is a point that I was trying to make in this talk which I didn't quite get to, which was basically that if we can be in touch more so with the way we're feeling, right, we can take more responsibility, and we can have more self-control, and we can share our experiences, our emotions of highs and lows together in real relationship as well, what we're going through. Something that I don't feel is really happening amongst people that are experiencing the lockdown or whatever else in the world, that we're not really very comfortable with sharing the emotions that we might be going through. We just want for this time to pass and get on with things, and by doing that we're not having a relationship with ourselves, and we're not really having a relationship with one another. Okay, it's very superficial. And so the point I was kind of trying to make is that if we can get in touch with our emotions and what we're going through, we can have a relationship with ourselves. We can understand ourselves better, right? We can know how we're feeling, and what we are about, and our sensitivities, and what is impacting on us, and be present with ourselves, and therefore as well to ask sometimes of ourselves is, let's say, do we need to be in fear? Do we need to be mind control? Do we need to buy into the narrative, to the energetic manipulation a lot of the time that's going on? Because if we don't know ourselves, and we don't sit with our own feelings, okay, and go through them, the unpleasant ones, the pleasant ones, or whatever it is, then we don't have control, right? Then we've removed ourselves from the experience of our emotions, okay, and therefore our emotions can control and manipulate us. So this is a point I was trying to make within this talk, but I didn't seem to find that space of clarity, not even clarity, of insight, if you will, and so I needed to put this in the beginning. I also edited out the first 10 minutes of this recording just because I was somewhat going on about the contrast of it being Easter, right, and what it would be like, the situation, here in Durban, South Africa, or anywhere around the world during Easter time, that it's a very much a time of celebration, of coming together in a superficial way a lot of the time, obviously, but it's more of a highlight of the year, I would say. And the fact that this is happening now, and what a dampen it's causing, and how discomforting this feeling is for people, the dreariness of like, oh wow, this is Easter time, this is a very sacred time for many, and now this is what we're dealing with. We're separated, we're not allowed to drink, we don't have alcohol to drink, we don't, we're not going to churches, whatever it is, and so it's very despairing. And so it's such a time like this where for most people, again, the feeling of it's so discomforting what's going on, and that by not addressing it, and not being present with it and sitting with it, we're becoming disassociated from ourselves, okay, more so, and from the reality, so to speak. And what I hint at is that basically that we'll wish for a solution because we're just feeling so uncomfortable. And if we can, my point again, if we can sit with the uncomfortableness, the unpleasantness, right, and we can endure, right, then we can be self-reliant. We can be respecting of what we're going through, honoring what we're feeling, all right, and being able to get a handle on it, the extremes of it, and that we won't be susceptible to the emotional manipulation of the matrix, right, which is trying to get us to feel so helpless and so insecure and in so much fear that we will accept and welcome whatever solution they may bring forth. Extremes of it, to be present with it, and that's the kind of point that I wanted to also make in the beginning, which I sort of edited out because it wasn't coherent. It really wasn't. Anyways, what's to follow is some footage of myself driving around the suburbs here in Durban, South Africa, the suburb of Lelusha, from Umhlanga to Lelusha, where I live, and just to show how empty the streets are as well. And usually, I mean, these streets are this traffic there's hustle and bustle on these streets, and as you can see, there'll be only maybe one or two cars visible on the street as well. Anyways, folks, so I'm going to leave it as it is, this talk, and again, it's not a pity party. It's just what I'm doing for myself is appreciating the moment that I felt yesterday and I was experiencing. Today I'm feeling a lot better. Today I'm feeling more grounded, I would say. I'm feeling concerned for my well-being, but not in fear of my well-being, okay, and that I'll make it through day by day. I'll make it through day by day. So I'm feeling better for now, right? But tomorrow I might not feel that way. I might not feel as strong as I do, right? And so again, folks, let's respect this time that we are in, and the energies and emotions that we are feeling, or we're going through, and that we're experiencing. All right, here's the video.
Well, what's my point? Is that it's such contrast and such harsh situation. I mean, of what's going on, and so I have my moments, folks. I have where the reality hits me, and it's like, this is what can happen in the world that we live in. This is what can happen when you got TV, when you got media, okay? At such a rapid rate, you can put people in such fear to such an extent where they'll willingly, I think also a lot of them, just lock themselves up in their house, right? And some people say, well, it's very necessary and whatever it is. I don't know. I don't know. Anyways, we're not going to talk about that really, because it just frustrates me, because it's pretty obvious, I'm not saying people should be barbecuing and the restaurants should be full or anything like that, but I think we should not be as in much fear as we are. We should not fear that this thing is hunting us down, right? That you're next, and that's what I hear from people, and I see online. If you hear about the extremes, like basically, okay, so you're going to go out your house, you're going to die. That's it. I mean, that's what people. But we know. I mean, the documentation, the proof says it's got a 0.5%, death rate, right, and mortality rate. But yet people believe that if they contract this thing, they're finished, and that's the problem here, right? I mean, I know that people that I speak to, it's like, if you get it, doesn't matter if you've got a strong immune system, doesn't matter who you are, whatever your age is, it doesn't matter. Because again, the narrative has changed. It changes all the time. It's like, well, it's only the elderly and the people that have severely been compromised. And then it's 1 minute, no, it can happen to anybody, right? And it's everywhere. It's on surfaces. It's wherever you turn. It's wherever you look. Don't touch your face. And again, it's so true. I was listening to a guy on YouTube, and he was a doctor, and he was saying that, I wouldn't just tell people to not touch their eyes and their mouth or their face or something like that and wash their hands. He says there's a whole array of vegetables, fruits and vegetables and and whatever it is, and herbs that you can take. He says that will boost your immune system, that will help you out in such huge ways. He says, but they don't talk about anything like that. And he gives a whole list of colloidal silver and whatever it is, and vitamin C, and iodine tablets or something. I don't know. The list is endless, But I mean, all that they can tell you is don't sneeze on somebody, throw your tissue in the dustbin, and this is literally what they say, and wash your hands all the time and constantly. I mean, this is what they say, and it's like nothing about your health necessarily. Nothing. I'm getting bitten here by mosquitoes. Nothing like that. Stay away from each other. Stay away from each other. Practice the social distancing, whatever it is. Do this, and that's all there is. No remedies. Oh, what about ginger? What about turmeric? What about a bit of garlic? Whatever it might be, I don't know the whole list. I mean, for myself, what about cayenne pepper? What about sodium bicarbonate, baking soda? Is it sodium bicarbonate? Yeah. What about these things? Like, what about balancing the alkalinity in your body? Getting your body alkaline, whatever it is. I mean, nothing about this, but just the stupidity of, wear a mask. And then again, you say, well, then you hear some people say you have to wear a mask. Other people say it doesn't make a difference, because the virus is so small that it'll penetrate through the mask anyways. And then they say, well, the worst thing you should do is wear a cloth or something like a scarf over your mouth, because that absorbs the moisture. So basically you're trapping the virus if that's the case. So you get, we're getting mixed messages, jumping around from one foot to the next. We don't know. 1 minute you're fine. You're going to get light symptoms. The next minute you're going to be dead as disco. And so just we're beside ourselves, right? And so again, most people, had just buried themselves in some kind of reality tunnel, or some kind of, tunnel, I wouldn't say, whatever it is. And again, and it mostly involves the television. And that's what people are doing. Again, the TV is so bad. The news is so terrible. It's absolutely frightening. The stress that it causes you, I mean, here in South Africa, I watched the other day, I think that the death toll is so far it's jumped. As soon as the president also mentions that extension, or the first time when he mentioned about the lockdown, every time the next day, it's like the numbers all of a sudden just massively jump. And so, I mean, you're right, it could just be coincidence, I don't know, but I don't know, everyone's hailing now the president. They're all like, really, he's such a hero, our president. And I'm thinking to myself, if I haven't said this already, well, wait until the power, the electricity goes off for 4 hours every day, and then let's see what you say about the president. Let's hear about all the trillions of rands that has been disappeared in corruption money, and the people that have, no one is behind bars, no one's been arrested. Let's hear about those, and then, don't have double standards, people. Get your facts together. Don't be so inconsistent. But again, it's like, well, he's our savior in a way. It's like, oh, do me a favor. So, what was I saying? Oh, yes, I was talking about media. And I don't watch the TV, but I see it on YouTube, the from South African TV, that they upload their channels, whatever it is. And this was before the death rate was at 25. I think it was only like at 11. And they were interviewing the guy from the mortuary. And he was basically saying that the government's not doing enough in regards for burial space. Like, we're going to need massive amounts of space for people, and cremation, and we're going to need extra staff on board. And so it's going, and it's like, oh my word. Like, they're absolutely anticipating the absolute worst. And even if that is the case, fine, anticipate the worst, just in case, right? Just like what they were saying in America. First it was going to be, however many people are infected around the globe, I mean, and going to die. Again, in this country, they said 70% of people are going to be infected, all right? I don't know. I mean, whether that still turns out to be the case, I doubt it, folks. I absolutely doubt it. Okay. Anyway, so what was I saying? In America they're saying it's 200,000, then it was 100,000 is going to die. Now it's 60,000. So they get all their figures wrong, get it all messed up. But again, they're not held accountable or responsible. And people don't even say, hold on a minute. They don't know what they're doing. what the hell's going on? They're playing with our emotions here, and they really are. They're playing with our psychology here, and people don't. So for myself, I don't really watch TV, but I mean, here's the guy on the news, and they're talking about, having to create more space in the cemeteries for people, and it's like, okay, if you're going to do that, why do you do it on? Why do you have to do it on national television? And so, well, that puts the fear into people when they realize how real it is, whatever it is. But don't we also realize what stress can do? At a certain point of view, you have to appreciate that you can use fear as a method of control, but eventually you just go too far. Like eventually, it's just absolute tyranny, if you ask me. It's absolute trauma, right? Do you know what I mean? There is degrees and levels, and so, well, who's to say what the levels of, to what degree it should be? Like I'm saying, how much fear should you impact, whatever it is, to get people to be, to pay attention, to respect. You say, okay, fine, but, at some point or another, it's unnecessary. And in what I feel like, talking about just one example, about the lack of burial space and whatever it is, that for myself is unnecessary. It's absolutely unnecessary. I mean, they don't talk about this when, again, 59 people are murdered a day here in this country. They don't talk about how many people die in road accidents here a day. And that's not murders, that's road accidents. They don't talk about that. But all of a sudden they're talking about it. And so for myself, again, it's just a pandemic of fear. And the people who are peddling the fear, especially in this country, the news reporters, the journalists, the politicians, whatever it is, the ministers, right? They're on a power trip. They're on a power trip. They're using the fear and that's what I'm saying. To a certain degree, if people are still not going to obey the rules, and I know that this involves everybody, but if people aren't going to, listen to whatever extreme amount of fears, then they run the risk. Do you know what I mean? And I know it involves everybody else, so we're all in this together again, but it's like, to what degree do you become such a tyrant, right? Where you're willing to be such a tyrant in order to save people's lives? Just doesn't make sense. But I mean, what does these days? Anyway, I get upset and I get frustrated, and so coming back to me, I mean, so I have these moments of real, hard, low, despairing moments. I really do, right? Of deep grief, of deep sadness. I'm very emotional, right? I have these moments, and I feel like, it's all done. It's all, like there's just no way out of here. It just feels like, I mean, from many levels, because I realized now what the hand has been shown of power. You know what I mean? Like the control has been it's evidential now. I'm saying for myself. I mean, it's always been evidential how the scene has always been manipulated, how things are not, you know what I mean, the hidden hand, the hidden forces. For myself, I've seen it. I see it. There's no question about it. I mean, it's everywhere. It's the Matrix. You see the Matrix when you look outside your window. You feel it when you go to church, when you pay your taxes, right? Whatever it is. It's the world around you. And so for myself, I see the Matrix loud, clear, visual every single day, and I feel it every single day. Right, but it's in bits and pieces, in a way. It's not spread out, but it's not as apparent, I would say, as it and it's the forces. I know all about it, but maybe I underestimate it sometimes. But like now, this is just sort of, one finger of it. Like I'm saying, what it's doing now, if you ask me, because again, this government is not thinking for itself. I don't think many governments think for themselves, really. But again, that's hard to say, in a sense. But there's an influence. There's an influential force on the world. There's no question about it. There is a matrix, folks. And so for myself, I didn't realize that the Matrix can so quickly have us all under lock and key, lockdown in this situation and in such fear within days. Within days, I just never realized it. I didn't anticipate it. Like, oh, always thought to myself, well, I've heard about it and the potentials and the possibilities and what happens is, but I never suspected it. It could be like so rapid, and it would move gradually. Their forces of control or whatever it is, or influence, whatever it is, the Matrix. Oh, it wouldn't be able to lock us down. People would resist. Because I didn't anticipate something like a pandemic of some kind, this situation. I didn't think like this. I thought maybe it's an economic crash or something like that, but it wouldn't amount to psychological warfare. I didn't anticipate that. I mean, you could never anticipate it. You could never anticipate the magnitude of it. You could never. And so for myself, that's alarming. And that says, hey, wait a minute. This shit's real, right? And the Matrix, right? Or Christoph, right? Remember Christoph from the Truman Show? See, it's a great example. Like, he blocks Truman in very small ways, in a sense, from leaving the island, right? He blocks him by, like, I don't know, there's a malfunction on the bus that's supposed to drive him. I don't think he's on an island, but he can cross it, obviously. The bus breaks down. He wants to catch the boat or to whatever, and the boat, he has a fear of water, which they instilled upon him. At a young age, they make an act that, with his father, Truman and his father go sailing, and the father drowns, and Truman becomes fearful of water. So they imprint that on him, which I think is also imprinting going on right now as well. I mean, in regards to pandemics of this kind, and so then he tries to catch the bus. He tries to catch a plane, and she says, "Oh well, it's not the busy season. The plane is only going to leave like in a month from now to Fiji. There's nothing else available." And then, like, I don't know if you remember the scene where he's in the flight center, whatever you want to call it, where he's booking his flight. He goes and he's speaking to the lady, the sales lady, whatever it is, and there's a picture on the wall of an aeroplane, and there's a lightning bolt going through the wing of the plane, and so this could happen to you, because they're trying to discourage him from leaving the island, okay, from discovering a new world, for leaving, the familiar. And so, those are small, subtle ways that they try, which are actually quite big ways. I mean, I remember when he's driving on the road, he says, screw it, I'm going to drive in my car. Then all of a sudden he's driving on the highway and flames burst out of nowhere. And then these guys in hazmat suits say there's been some nuclear leak at a plant or something like that, you've got to turn around. So they do. So the more that he tries to escape, right, and run away, the harder, the tougher the measures become. So for example, when he manages to escape and faces his fear, and he gets into the boat, all right, to sail away, Christoph, creates a storm over the water, over the so-called ocean, which is not ocean, and makes it rain and thunder and lightning, and Christoph goes as far as to topple his boat over, and the crew members are watching this, and they say, Christoph, he's going to drown. And Christoph's answer was, well, he was born on live television, he can die on live television. But Christoph was prepared to murder him in a way, okay? Now we could get into the existential idea that without Christoph actually putting in the obstacles in Truman's place, he would have never have gotten to be the hero that he would have. If Christoph didn't make it as hard for Truman to escape, right, then Truman wouldn't have tougher the challenge, sweeter the victory type of thing, So there's that existential side from that as well, if you know what I'm saying. So it's almost like Christoph is the necessary evil, okay? Just as much as a lot of the evil in today's world, in life, in this reality, is not necessarily evil, and it plays the act of evil, but it needs to be there for different reasons, obviously, okay? But that's something else. Anyway, so he topples the boat, and he's willing to drown Truman. Well, let Truman drown in a way if Truman can't make it on his own. But that's as far as he's prepared to go. And so what I'm saying is that the matrix itself, right, the machine, or whatever you want to call it, what's the name, what's the architect in the matrix that I think about, that comes to mind, but the controllers of the matrix, in a way, that their reach is so large, and what they're willing to do and how quickly they are willing to enact it, right? And how that's also another thing for myself, when you realize, right, the people of the matrix, right, that when the bell rings, the rung by the machines or something like that, whatever I'm saying, by the architect of the matrix, okay, when there's that all of the people of the matrix get in line, get exactly in line, without questioning, without curiosity, without fighting back, no matter what it is, that's how well trained the people of the matrix are in that sense, right? How obedient they are, how willing, again, this comes down to a talk that I'm working on. I'm struggling with it, about our own sovereignty, our own independence for thought and common sense and rationality, right, and reason, and not just with what's going on now. I'm saying just in general. Like, doesn't it alarm some people? Doesn't it, there's plenty of how would I say it, breadcrumbs for people to pick up throughout their lives, that things are not what it appears to be. There's plenty of them. There really is a dime a dozen, but you just have to look, you just have to inquire, you just have to feel, you just have a gut feeling, and you can tell, right? You can put some dots together enough to realize, hold on a minute, this is not what it appears to be, right? That there is something else going on. It's a bit funky here, whatever it is. And so, but what I'm saying is that the matrix can say whatever it said, and there will be, everyone will just jump in line. And I'm saying governments around the world, politicians, ministers, police, armies, whatever it may be, boom, this is what's going on, this is the narrative that's being said, and this is what's going down, and this is what everybody will believe. They can throw us reality tunnels, at such rapid rates, and have us so narrowly minded and narrowly focused in split seconds, in a sense. Something that could have never happened, I believe, any time in the past, unless you follow Atlantis or something like that, but after Atlantis. Do you see what I'm saying? The Matrix can get people to focus so intensely, narrow-mindedly focus on one thing and one particular thing, and you know what that's about right now is your survival. They can bring it all down to your survival with the press of one button on their keyboard. That's how effective it is, and instantaneously global, worldwide. Okay, there's obviously more that can go into that, but not really. Because again, we'd have to get into the nature of what's going on here, which again I don't necessarily want to do, right? But it does make, whatever it is. So that for myself just shows me another level of the control. It just shows me more so, like evidentially, and I can feel it, like even now I can feel it. I'm saying when I wake up in the morning, and side note, for those of you who are having quite intense dreams, right, quite existential 3 a.m. moments, I certainly am. I have been, and it's somewhat bothersome because it's so extreme. Like, I dream at night and I'm far from this reality. And when I wake up to go to the loo or something like that, even in the morning, I'm like sort of, I'm back in this, and it's so dense, and it's such a low vibrational energy, and it's so restricting. Again, the control is now so apparent, right? It's so obvious, right? It's so everywhere. I can feel it right now, breathing down my neck. It's my neighbors that are in jittering and on such fear, and where I'm looking now, there's hundreds of houses and lights that are on, and people that are sitting and waiting, anxiously waiting for their lives to get back to normal, waiting for this to blow over. You know what I mean? Like, just praying, like, when will it end? I don't actually want, they don't want to be present. That's the anxiety that I find. Again, I know I'm jumping around here, folks, but there's a few points, I suppose, coming up. That's the thing, is that we are brilliant at being desensitized. We are brilliant at being distracted from reality, from the harshness of reality, of what reality is about. We joke, we kid, we mock, we silly, right? We don't take life seriously. We mock it. We make fun of it. I was watching this thing with Trevor Noah, The Daily Show, and this was, I think, on the 3rd of March, could have been, okay, where everything was just sort of kicking off, and his show was still had an audience, and the title of this video, you can look at it on YouTube, I'm not making it up, it's CV, I don't like to say the words, is this how we die? That was the title of his that scene that he did, and he was addressing it, and he was joking about it, and Trump came up and said, well, it's not as bad as it seems, or whatever it is. This was like, it wasn't there was only a few cases in the States. It really was only in 2 countries at that time, and so it was laughable. And they were like saying, yes, but it could spread and whatever it is, but then Trump was sort of ended off and saying, well, but don't worry, you most likely won't die. And so it's very interesting to watch those beginning parts, folks, those clips of the talk show hosts, because you can see a lot of the you want to call it the programming being, trickling down in a way, or if you know what I mean, being implemented. A lot of the programming, a lot of the misdirection, a lot of the confusion that's going on, a lot of the 1 minute it's serious, the 1 minute it's not serious, well, in a way. Well, not that is, but I'm just saying, so you look at it now and cast his video, the silliness of these talk show hosts, which a lot of the time it is and I barely ever watch it because the energy for me is rather dark, but you take the silliness of some of these talk show host guys, right, and whatever it is, and now you contrast it and how they were addressing the situation a while ago, and you watch it today, what's going on now, and you connect them together, and you'll see, like, oh my word, just a completely different character in a way of the person as well, like a Jimmy Fallon or somebody like that. I mean, it's eerie to see these guys, doing these recordings. Not that I really watch it, but it pops up on my sidebar on YouTube as suggestions, and from time I click on it for a few seconds just to see what's going on. Or somebody else that I'm subscribed to is doing a video on or something or other, and so I do come across it. But you see it, and so it's like, again, this world, what I'm saying, went from a level of just like everything it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that the climate is really, or the planet is under attack from human beings or going extinct or whatever it is. I'm saying, the animals, whatever it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the amount of heart disease. Nothing matters in this world. The priorities are not there. What matters, again, is the number one movie, the number one hit song, the number one fashion, a person, that what's ever trending, you know what I mean, the latest cell phone, the latest TV, the latest kind of car, the latest type of technology, the latest slang, whatever it is that's cool, for a lot of people, or the latest sports results or something or other, for a lot of people, for most people. The latest cocktail drink beer that they've made, this one's got it's an apple cider mixed with a taste of a lemon twist or something. I don't know, all these things that come up, and whatever's trending. And it's like, so there isn't a level of seriousness in the world. There isn't a seriousness, there isn't a sacredness, there isn't a reverence for anything anymore, folks. There isn't. For the elderly are mocked, right? There's so much cynicism in the world, and this is absolutely terrible. There's no respect even for children. There's no respect for one another. Come on. There's no respect for the body. There's no respect for, for life itself. There's no respect. I mean, even for this country, life is valueless. For life has no value in this country. Again, it's remarkable to see that a guy who drives a minibus overloaded with passengers, maybe his limit is 16, but he'll push it to 25, and he's been drinking, right? And his license has expired, and the vehicle itself is not roadworthy, and he knows it, and the tread on his tires, whatever it is, but he doesn't care because life doesn't have any value. People say you die, so what? In a sense, I mean they behave that way to a certain degree, but anyways, but that's something else. So there's no value for life anymore. There's no respect for one another. There's no respect generally for the well-being, for just looking at a star here, whatever it might be, for the future. There's nothing, and so so there's no seriousness. I mean, there's no seriousness about how grotesque the movies are. There's no seriousness about what these Ariana Grandes and these Miley Cyruses are singing to the young children. There's no protection of the youth whatsoever against the vile garbage, trash that is poured out by mainstream media or whatever it is. There isn't. There's no discipline in regards to social medias and cell phone usages and things like that. The hours and hours amount that we spend in it. There's no seriousness about the amount of suicides that are happening daily. I think it's like the second causing lead of death for youngsters or something like that in America or whatever. No, but so what? No, but people, they don't take it seriously, right? We don't take our health seriously. It's all a joke. And this TikTok, any of you guys watch, if you know what this TikTok thing is. Somebody showed it to me the other day, and it's like such garbage. Folks, there's something where comedy is intelligent. There's something that's what real humor is when something is intelligent, right? Not when something's stupid. There's a big difference. A majority of things are just stupid. Like, I even listen to some stand-up comedians. I think last night I tried a guy named Jimmy Carr, Carr, and he was just so offensive. He's got these jokes, and he's mocking disabled people. He's mocking people. It was just atrocious. He's talking about pedophiles. He's just joking about all of this stuff, and putting in all these things are serious matters. I think about that movie. I know I'm carrying on here, folks, but it's therapy for me, and for those of you that have stuck around this long, I appreciate it. Very few of you, I can tell you. Sad to say, but anyways, is what it is. That movie, I think it's the guy who does the Cat in the Hat. There's something about the Lorax. There was a movie based on it, and the idea that human beings cut down all the trees. Well, this guy cuts down all the trees to make these things called sieves or sweeves or something like that. I don't know if you said something in the Lorax, and it's just like basically in the movie, like nobody cares. Nobody cares that now that they live in a plastic world with inflatable trees and they all have to buy oxygen in order to use their oxygen. Have you seen this movie? Well, watch the trailer. Something Lorax. Okay, it's who's that guy who does the Cat in the Hat? Those books. It escapes my memory right now. Anyway, so and in the movie it's like, so they got inflatable trees because they don't care. They don't even need real trees, right? And they say we love it the way that it is. We don't want what's real, they don't want what's true. Okay? Again, I've spoken about this before. But nobody cares. That's the thing, nobody cares. And the apathy. I'm doing a documentary, a talk on this about apathy, and the movie, the never-ending story about the nothing that's taking over the Fantasia. The land of Fantasia, the dimension of Fantasia. It's a nothing, it's a despair that's eating everything up. So I'm doing a talk on this, and what's happening now is that the nothing is taking over, right? The meaninglessness and the purposelessness of things is taking over. The mindlessness, is taking over by stupidity a lot of the time, by lack of presence, whatever it might be. Okay, so what I'm saying is, and I'll start ending off here, about this, about being so desensitized that we don't take anything seriously. So it's very hard. I think one of one of the more troubling factors for people right now is to actually be still and to be present, right? Without the cell phone, without the TV, without the radio, locked up, right? And actually get in touch with, how am I feeling? How am I feeling? Have a relationship with themselves in that moment. Say, well, buddy boy, you're feeling rather pretty anxious. You're feeling very, very afraid. You're feeling very, very alone, right? You feel very helpless in a way. You feel, not for everybody, but if you really get in touch with how you're feeling, right? You feel like helpless because there's a pandemic, there's something out there, CV, that is coming to get you. Who are you going to call? Gross, but like, it's out there, it's knocking on your door. Death is knocking at your door, buddy. It's coming for you. It's sitting on your windowsill. It's on the grocery bags. That's where a CV's sitting on the grocery bags that you brought in. You got to wash that down. You got to you understand what I'm saying? And so and that's it. So you feel, I'm feeling pretty fearful. I'm feeling very alone. I'm feeling very helpless. I'm feeling whatever it is. Because again, also you're feeling alone. Well, why are you feeling alone? Because the other people around you are not really also in touch with the way they're feeling. They are feeling it and they're responding from their place, but they're not in touch with it. They're not in relationship with it. All they're wanting to do is for it to go. They just wanted it to vamos. They don't want to be present with it. And I know, because I struggle with it myself as well. I struggle. I'm better at it than I think most people that I know in my life, that's for sure. Right? I definitely am. But for most people, it's like, I don't know. There's much more I can be said on this, but let me start ending off. So that's it. So people just want it over, please. And you know what the thing is, that, well, you want it so over bad, you want it over so badly. Well, we might just have the cure for you, where generally you probably wouldn't want to have this cure, or you'd be a bit suspect for it. Some of you, would not want to go down this route or partake in this, but under the circumstances and how you're feeling, and you've relied on the chemicals, you've relied on the tranquilizers, the serotonin magicians, to do their magic for you by, being prescribed to their potions, if you will, and so you've been dependent on it, and that's the only way that you've managed a lot of the time, majority of you anyways. And so here we have another solution for you. It's a bit more extreme for some of you, but don't worry, as they say, a spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down, so not to worry, and so they wanted voluntary people to volunteer themselves. Please, we beg you, bring us the solution, bring us the injection, let us have it, because the last thing I want to do is feel the way that I'm feeling, and look at the reality of things, look at the sadness around me, the despair, the grief, the anguish, right, the confusion, the helplessness. I don't know, folks. Anyways, so let me start ending off on that. I know it's not the most prettiest of pictures that I'm painting, but it is the reality, and that's absolutely fine with that, and that's what it takes. Real courage. It takes real heart to see what is taking place, to feel how you are feeling. Get in touch with that. And then to ask yourself, sometimes is the fear necessary? Right? If you know that you are looked after in a divine way. Now I'm preaching here because I can't. I'm a hypocrite. I'm seriously am. Because on the one hand I'll say, well, you got to have faith, man. And I can tell you, I struggle with faith. I struggle that my well-being is taken care of. That I'm not in harm's way, living in this country with potential civil unrest at any moment because of the ramifications of what's going on in government's hard rule over the people. So I'm not, it's not easy for me to have faith and my safety and my mental well-being or whatever it is under this lockdown and the oppression and and the energy of having to be, for myself, I like to move around. I like nature. I got to often, every second day at least, put my feet in the sand on the beach or something like that. Now I can't even go to the beach, get arrested. So I'm just saying that for ourselves, see, I'm not on that level to speak of faith in that way, I suppose. I'm still learning that. But I mean, just to understand that if I'm feeling despaired, if I'm feeling angry, if I'm feeling grief, if I'm feeling frustrated, it's okay, and just to be in touch with that. It's a strange psychedelic time that we're a part of, folks. So again, I just think the most important thing is the relationship with yourself, the relationship to truth, what is true, right? And relationship to the divine. Alright, folks. And to one another, of course. I mean, without you, I wouldn't be able to do this talk. We'll chat soon, folks. Take care.